Welcome to the new season of the Live Your Spa Life show. The Spa in Spa Life stands for Seek Power Always, that divine power within you to do what you're here to do. The theme for this season is intentional living. Amazing people like you share ways to live by design and with purpose to ensure that this short ride of life occurs with choice, physically, financially, spiritually, and in your relationships to create a world-class life. In these times of uncertainty, it's time for you to move past the distractions and start trusting yourself more through your God-giving knowingness. No one truly knows better what's best for you than you. In this season, you'll have plenty of examples of people choosing their best life and creating a positive impact through intentional living. Thank you for sharing your precious time with us and being part of the Live Your Spa Life conversation. With us today is Dr. Maria Keckler, the Director of International Affairs, Strategy, and Communication, as well as a Research Faculty Fellow at San Diego State University. Go Aztecs! Her research explores the intersection of story, neuroscience, psychology, and education to improve empathy, leadership, human connection, and our collective ability to tackle complex challenges. Maria, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Diane. It's such a pleasure to be here.
I love that we get to reconnect and just see all the new fun things that you're up to. It's amazing, this whole thing about tackling complex challenges. There's, I think, no more in time than particularly the last several years where things have just been, off the charts different than we normally have been. How do you help people navigate that better with as many challenges as people are having?
Well, first of all, I don't know that I am qualified to help anyone navigate anything. I think that part of the reason why I have always appreciated the power of story is that all I can do is share my own story. Everybody has their own. Our story includes how we navigate challenges, how we become more resilient, how we become more courageous. And hopefully, as I share a little bit of my experience, other people can gain a little bit of inspiration, maybe walk away with a tip or two. And that is really my approach. Otherwise, I mean, after my parenting days were over, as it were, I decided I really can't steer anyone in any direction. Everybody brings their own perspective, and I only know what I see. And so oftentimes I have to take some instruction from seeing other people navigate life as well.
Right. Well, you've been in the communication game for a while, and the whole being able to hear what people have to say, to take your experience and their experiences and really have this collaborative effort. You are the author of Bridge Builders, like how to have superb communication to get what they want in business and life. We actually have an autographed copy on hand for those who haven't seen this. This is a great tool and a great thing to look at. Mastering the art of leadership is such an amazing thing. What have been some of your insights in your journey in writing the book and just your feedback afterwards about some of the insights and strategies about being a leader?
Yeah, that book, oh my goodness, you actually have one of the limited copy covers. That was one of the first copies. And then the publisher changed the cover. But it's been almost 7 years. Wow. And it's just really amazing to hear that it still resonates. In fact, I connected, and I think I'm going to tell you the answer that the question, address the question you gave me by giving you a story. I was at a TED event, virtual event for members only, and we had these breakout rooms. And I had the privilege of hearing just these amazing people from all around the world. And one of those ladies was, or is, a doctor in the UK. And she was talking about empathy, and she was talking about communication, and she was talking about how all of that is so needed very intentionally in healthcare. And so long story short, we tried to connect, but we got separated. She looked me up, and you know what? She found me because she found my book. And then she found a way to connect with me, and we are becoming dear friends because everything that she read in the book, felt really familiar. And I think something she wanted to hear from somebody else, and how we can really connect to the hearts and the minds of the people that we serve. So those are the things that I hear most often when I encounter someone that is reading the book, that is rereading the book. Is they tell me they connect with the story, because it's really not just a didactic approach to communication, a how-to, although you get some of that as well, but really about someone's story where you can almost place yourself as one of the characters that struggles, has a vision for where you see yourself being, but always needing a little bit of mentoring in the process.
Yes, yes. There's something just so powerful about story, right? Because when you share your story and people are able to see themselves in it, like their own version of that story, we can find these connection points, and we can really start laying down the foundation of trust, and being able to really just meet people where they're at. And I think it's such a beautiful thing to look at. Another thing that you are also doing, your hats are in many different directions here, as far as being the founder of Keckler and Co., right? This is a consulting and research agency, and you support executive leaders. And one of the things that really stood out for me in what you're doing here is driving cultural transformation. And I think now, again, more than ever, with people having remote work and, changing dynamics in the workplace, how is it that we can be, have such great cultures, taking all of the changes into consideration?
I think that today, more than ever, people are craving empathy and kindness, because everywhere you turn, there is an argument. I mean, we see it in the media, we see it in politics, and then that bleeds into our homes and our churches and our schools, because we are seeing our differences rather than our similarities. And I think that when we begin to strip away all the things that rub us the wrong way about somebody, maybe the differences that we see, the political affiliations, all of the details, we are left with just human beings who hurt, who want their kids to have a better life, who want to be able to have enough money to retire, who maybe are afraid that the diagnosis is going to be cancer. I mean, we all have such unique just connecting points, but we focus on the differences. So I think that I'm excited to see that a lot more leaders today are embracing the idea of creating transformation by just being more human, by paying attention to the needs of people that come to work and want to do great work. In fact, talking about the UK and my good friend there now, the University of Leicester in the UK, just 2 weeks ago, they launched the first ever Center for Research of Empathy in Healthcare. And so that is very specific to healthcare, but that is just one example of how people are realizing, because of the research, the body of research that we have now, that empathy is really good for business and for your health, for your brain, for your heart, you name it. How we do that, I think that's where we need to be more intentional. There are ways that we can bring that into the workplace, but it starts with being willing to look at the world through somebody else's lens.
Yeah, this is so great to hear. And I think that I've really seen kind of the turning of tide on social media as well, where, I feel like we've had like several years of just like beating down the how everybody's different and dividing and just all these crazy things happening. But I think people are really starting to step up to go, is that true? And what is your personal experience with another human being? And even with differences, I mean, part of the art of communication is to have another person's point of view so that you can take that information in and go, How does that apply? What does that look like? I mean, that is part of the richness of conversation. And I think that when we really do start looking down to, okay, we have family, right? We've got, faith, we've got our work, we've got our culture. I mean, there's so many different things that we can actually agree upon. And when we have those foundational things, we can agree to disagree on some of the things that actually don't really matter when it comes to connecting with another human being. Because when you actually put a face to someone and you are right in front of them, you can really then start feeling their heart. You can then be present with them. You can really see where they're coming from. And I think we kind of got a little off track, I think, with social media, where we weren't really present with somebody and we looked at what looked really great, but we didn't really get to have some of those deeper conversations. So that empathy piece and that part about really getting to know people can really make a difference. And I think that there were a lot of fears that came up during this time as well. What are some of the tools that you use to move past fear?
I mean, I will have to say empathy again, but I do want to, maybe come back to that point, because I think it will get to what you are, addressing, the things that really matter. I don't want to give the impression that is either or, because I think that's part of the problem, that we as a society or as humans, we tend to want this binary responses, like is either you're this or you're that. Either we, one common one that I was actually having a conversation with a colleague yesterday is for people that are really passionate about changing society, right? They're passionate about social issues and bringing more awareness about injustice or inequities, right? And somebody has to do that work, of course. I mean, we have voting rights because somebody took the banner of saying, no, women should vote too. Women should have education too. Minorities should have the ability to have the same opportunity. So we definitely have seen the changes in society because the courageous voices and actions of people that took that as part of their mission, right? But at the same time, we cannot forget that sometimes doing work that feels like it's either or makes us feel like a victim. So some of the women I mentor, because they only focus on the changes that are not happening fast enough in society, then there's a tendency to then feel like a victim. Like, unless this changes, I will never have opportunity. Unless somebody does something, I will never be able to get ahead. And it's not that simple. We all have agency. And so one of the things that you asked me, how do you deal with these fears? How do you deal with the overwhelm that oftentimes paralyzes us from doing what we want to do? And I would say, if you have self-empathy, right, just be a little kinder with yourself, and just pause and know that you only know what you think you know. But if we engage in just a sense of conversation with other people, asking them questions, wanting to get to know them, even if we disagree, disagree vehemently, we can still be curious. And we can ask for, tell me what made you believe that? How do you arrive to this? Can I offer a perspective? Because this is what I believed all my life. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to dialogue about this with me. I mean, that type of communication, I mean, you do a lot of that work yourself, right? De-escalating conflict, creating opportunities for people to have a dialogue that is productive. I think that is empathetic.
Yes, absolutely. I think so many times people will say, well, I believe this because it's just the way they were taught, or, what it was like in their family. And I think people don't always ask themselves or question, like, why do I believe that? Right. And so even just being in a conversation with someone and just asking them, can I ask you why you believe that? And because how they arrived at that and what it looks like, that can be a really deeper fabric of connection to really understand somebody. I mean, really, that's how we get to know people, is people want to be known, right? To be known and understood and liked. I mean, all of these things that we know. And it's only in those deeper conversations that we get to actually see that. And so, and people learn from our journey. And, one of the things that we love to talk about is, what are some things that you felt disempowered about in your journey that you were able to kind of to learn from and get some perspective on?
Yeah, I think that when I try to do things in my own power without anyone helping me, because I want to look like I'm more capable than I really feel at any moment. I feel very disempowered. I just finished a PhD and I'm 56 years old, and I was working full time, and I have, clearly a business. And when I think I can do it all by myself, asking for no help is just really disempowering. And so for me, it comes back to being vulnerable and owning the fact that I can do it all,
Mm.
and being okay to take a slower pace instead of thinking that I should get there faster, like there's not enough time to do it. I see people that are doing great things in their 80s and 90s. And so when I have that perspective, I immediately think, oh, I'm just a babe. I mean, I have so much time. And of course, it comes down to taking care of my health so that I actually can have a longer, more vibrant life. But also asking others. My husband is amazing. So during my PhD, for example, I said, I just cannot even think of making dinner, going grocery shopping, cleaning, nothing. And I just had to own it, even though sometimes I feel really bad that he's doing all the work. And we just have this understanding that there are times where I'm going to have to pick up the load, and sometimes he's going to have to do that. But the last and most, I think, for me is understanding that there's a higher power that is working together with me, but I have to silence the noise so that I can hear, so that I can pray, so that I can feel at peace. And that can only happen if I really bring down the noise and allow myself to think and to be
Yeah.
creative.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the faith piece. The whole idea about, I don't know how people get through hard times without having faith or having a sense of being guided, being able to listen to their intuition and hear the voices that God has for us. I mean, it's such an important thing that I think that gets overlooked, that when we feel overwhelmed or we feel like things aren't working, a lot of times it's because we are just relying completely on ourselves and not just having some surrender to be like, okay, what is your bigger plan? Like, what do you have for me? And, it'd be great if you just give me a few signs. And I feel like sometimes God is like, I've been giving you some signs, you're just not looking, right? So
Oh,
when we actually pay attention to those things, it can really, really make a difference in our experience.
yeah. I have one of I don't want to miss the opportunity to say this because this is super important. Having the type of friend that sharpens you. There's a saying, as iron sharpens iron, right?
Yes.
And so I have a couple of friends like that, and they tell me the truth, right? They call me on something that I maybe have a blind spot, but they do it with kindness. And when they see my imperfections, they don't throw me away. They're like, I love you. I love you because I am imperfect too. And to me, it's such a beautiful gift when we can have the type of friends around us that will make you better because they tell you the truth. They call you out when when you are out to lunch, when you messed up. But at the same time, they have so much grace that they recognize that we are all human, and that our imperfections, are part of the equation. And so I hope that everybody that is listening has at least one of those friends. I think that if you have two, you count yourself abundantly blessed.
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
but that has helped me so much. And even in the most painful situations that I've had over the last few years, it is usually those relationships that have sustained me. And of course, I have my husband, who is definitely that. But there's something, I mean, for me, about a female friend, someone, being a female myself, I am, feeling like I just, need to connect with somebody that understands how emotional I can get, my experience, and things that we can relate at a different level.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm at such awe for people who arrive to a new country, not speaking the language, and thrive to the level that you have. I mean, take us back to what that was like to be to a new place and not be able to speak the language. Like, what are those first days like? And do you ever look back to that and go, how did I come as far as I have?
Well, every day, I it never gets lost on me. Somebody asked me not too long ago, what is your superpower? And for me is gratitude. I am so grateful for every moment I have, everything that I've been able to accomplish. I mean, even just accomplishing this PhD or writing a book or whatever it may be, I am in awe because as you said, I came to this country when I was 16 years old. My dad, I'm the oldest of three. And so my mom, after our dad died, she really had the courage to bring us to this country. She had a couple of siblings that had been living here for a number of years. And so we did have help. But it was scary leaving everything behind and just not knowing if you will ever be able to achieve your dreams. I mean,
Mm,
I definitely thought I'll never be able to. At the time, I wanted to be a teacher. That's all I wanted to be. And I thought, how can I do that? How can I be a teacher if I am not able to speak the language?
right.
And so uh, looking back, it's one day at a time, one day at a
Mhm.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You and I have talked about how, I just turned 57 this year. You're going to turn 57. There must be something about that
Yeah.
1966, right? That happens. And, so many times people have conversations about, is it too late to start something or to pivot or, missing the mark, kind of that feeling of missing out. What do you think, when people are pursuing their dreams and they want to have impact in the world, how does age come into play with that? And, what is some of the best advice that you have received that has just really empowered you along the way?
I think that age is awesome because I mean, I remember being so excited when I turned 40 because I felt like, okay, maybe people now will take me seriously. And then when I turned 50, I thought it was amazing because now I could actually share my opinion with a lot more confidence. I mean, I just have always looked at age as this gift that we get because we have gone through so much and we have overcome so much. And so I feel that the older I get, I have the opportunity to pay back what I received. And so in terms of one of the best pieces of advice I received from a mentor, she said, every woman or every individual needs a mentor. Always have a
Mm,
mentor, but always then be mentoring somebody. And so I have tried to do that. I have to try to pass on what was given to me so that others don't have to take as long and don't have to endure the hurdles beyond what is needed, right, to
mm,
grow.
yes.
And to me, when I do that, it's almost like I'm speaking truth to myself. When I'm speaking to somebody, I'm reminding myself of
Mm,
those wonderful pieces of advice.
so good. There's so many things that we get to create in our life. And one of the things I always like to ask is that we live life different in our bedroom versus our kitchen or our office. What's your favorite room in your home and why?
My favorite room is my reading area. So I have a tiny home because that's another thing I decided in this new season. I wanted less stuff. I wanted to be able to have less stuff. So I love being able to go. I have tons of books. That's my indulgence books. And I have this just little area where it's big, bright window. I have my cup of tea, I have my books, and I can sit there all day long if I need to.
I love it. It's so funny. I think sometimes people uh, oversee just the smallest space and how it can brighten your day. And, even having just like one or two things that bring a smile to your face can really impact how you see the world and how you feel and kind of take that best step forward. So I think that is such a fun thing. And I love that you downsized and that, you really that process is pretty amazing, because I've helped a lot of people, like downsize throughout the years, and to be able to see like what's truly important to you is, I think, a beautiful process to go through.
I love it. It feels like a weight off my shoulders. Wonderful.
So good, so good. So I know that our listeners are going to want to stay in contact with you. What's the best way for them to do that?
They can always reach me through my website. I have a quick little form that you can fill out and I can get right back to you. And it's Keckler and Co. .net. And it's always easy, to know what I'm doing, to know how you can reach me. And of course, I'm active on socials. So LinkedIn is usually my place of choice nowadays, because I think it has more encouraging, empowering information than any of the other places, but I'm always there. Mhm.
Yeah, so good. I've newly kind of plugged in more to LinkedIn as well, and it's just really great to kind of see what people are up to, and you see so many of the innovations that are happening, and
Yeah.
people not just innovating themselves as well. So it's just kind of a fun place to check in. So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Well, as you know, our theme for this season is intentional living. So in what way are you living an intentional life today?
I am being intentional in my health. I am sad to say that education oftentimes is not good for your health, because you're sitting so long, you're, kind of pulling some all-nighters when you need to turn in papers. And so I have felt the effects of my body. And so I'm being intentional about regaining, some of that vitality that I need to be able to be intentional with other things, exercising, eating well, cutting the sugar. All of that takes a lot of effort and time, but I'm taking one day at a time.
Oh, what I love about that is no matter what's going on in life, you can always just kind of stop and reset and go, okay, you know what? Certain things were going on. Maybe certain things fell by the wayside. You can always start again, right? Whether it's starting in a new career, new habits, new ways of being, new friendships, connections is such a major thing. So I love that reminder of we can absolutely be intention about taking care of ourselves and being
Yeah.
able to do that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that is a long journey, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
Absolutely. Well, it's so great to reconnect with you and for sharing your wisdom and being here with us today.
Thank you so much, Diane. Thank you for having me.
You got it. And to our listeners out there, what do you need to change in your life? Like, what kind of things have you been going along? And maybe you're even having that little story about I'm too old, or I can't change, or any of those kind of things. This might be the time really to start looking at what has all of your life experience brought you to today, and what could you be doing differently that is more fulfilling and more impactful, and where you can come from a place of empathy to connect with more people in your world. Until we connect again, live your spa life. Bye for now. See ya.